in the Toyota Lounge, which is, of course, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And we are presented by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Happy Hump Day, fellas.
Humping it.
Oh.
Hump Day, not like that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just that day of the week. Getting Wednesday done.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'll have my Celsius in my car.
No, you're good now.
Okay. All good.
Henry left his Celsius in the car.
Yep.
He was also 10 minutes late to
It's
getting
that
here.
terrible parking lot, and then you go around there, and there's no parking on the street, and so now I'm parked in the which parking lot, so I'm going to get towed.
Wow.
It is what it is.
Let's just say I think Todd is the bravest person at this company because he has the nicest Toyota that you can have, and he parks it in our parking lot, which is risky, man. I think you're the bravest person here.
That's what they call me.
Well, yeah, not just for parking your car there. You're probably the bravest person at our company. Yeah. And let's dive right into it. Right? Why the weird look, Henry?
I mean, we talked about the ghost hunting thing. We were down to go when the guy invited us to go look for ghosts or like hang out wherever. Todd was the one who said no to that.
I don't think that means that you're brave if you're willing to go see ghosts or channel spirits. Like, that's not brave. Brave is like if a fight's about to happen and you're in an alleyway, like, what are you going to do?
I would fight. And I'd go see the ghost too, so I'm 2 for 2.
But
Would you fight?
Would you win the fight?
That depends on who it was. I don't know if it was me and you, I'd probably lose. I'd try my hardest.
Yeah, I don't know if ghost makes you brave.
It's almost more brave to fight if you aren't going to win the fight.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, I don't know if there's a fight out there. I just say I'm not going to win. So.
Okay.
I'm down for them all.
Okay, let's jump into today because we got a lot to talk about. And yesterday on the show, Mike Tomlin spoke, and there was one quote that came out from his entire press conference that was something along the lines of, "We're preparing as Justin Fields is going to start." So we talked about that for a second, and people ran with it across the country, essentially saying like, okay, Justin Fields has been named the starting quarterback. So I was like, okay, so preparing for today's show, went and listened to Mike Tomlin's comments, and it wasn't really that. One quote was taken and ran with it where it wasn't out of context, but I think we need to hear the full context here to know if it's actually Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, because I have to imagine when you're specifically on the defensive side, Todd, and like you've been in all of these meetings for over a decade, you're first concerned with who the quarterback is, and then you kind of go from there when you break down the offense.
Yeah, because the quarterback play is going to tell you a lot about how you need to be prepared to defend on Sunday. With Justin Fields, a more mobile quarterback, you got to be ready for him to take off and scramble if it's not there. They're going to have a limited offense because of how long he's been at the Steelers and just what he's known for being able to accomplish on the football field. So it tells you a lot about their game plan and how you choose to defend it based on which quarterback is in.
Yeah, and I think passing-wise, the two of them are you don't really prepare differently because they do the exact same things as passers. Russ is just a little bit better. Like, it's all outside the numbers, like roll out. And so you don't really have to, I don't think, change anything schematically. It's just about containing Justin if he's on the field.
Okay, I like that. So before we dive into which one the Broncos want and how you prepare differently or the same for them, let's hear from Mike Tomlin. And this is him just giving a health update about where Russell Wilson is and then kind of diving into the quote that we heard yesterday. But let's listen to this in its entirety because I think it's important.
I just visited with him. He feels better today than he did over the weekend. And so what that means, I don't know as we sit here today. I know that we're going to take the same approach that we take with a lot of people in terms of injury. We'll first start with his participation and his level of participation, his quality of participation. Over the course of the week, we'll be analyzing whether he's capable of protecting himself, whether he's capable of being productive. When we get to those, points, that's when we'll ponder his inclusion or not. And when that happens will probably be a component of that equation. But as I sit here today, we're preparing as if Justin is going to be our quarterback. I think that's the appropriate way to do it. Speculation is a waste of time. Russell's hurt. He's not available to us. And so, as you guys know, as a general practice, man, I focus my energy on those that are available and their readiness. Just saw Justin. He just finished a good workout here today, and excited about maybe going through a complete week with him in terms of the preparation process. But again, we'll take it day by day. Russ is not scheduled to work in totality tomorrow. To what degree, I do not know. And then we'll play it by ear from there based on the results and the things that we see in terms of whether or not we consider him and to what degree we consider him.
Man, Mike Tomlin is a straight shooter. I absolutely love it. But when I listen to that, I don't hear like, okay, Russ is going to miss this week. It's Justin Fields. Am I wrong on that? I think there's a lot more wiggle room, actually.
Yeah, I think it's all up in the air. I think that first and foremost, he feels like a coach that if you're going to play on Sunday, you got to practice during the week. And I think he feels like if Russ isn't available, then there's no way I can name him the starter right now. So he said, I'm going to prepare like Justin is our starter. And I think you say that when Justin's not the true starter, but we got to use him as if he is our starter because our quote-unquote starter is not available right now. And so they're going to prepare, with Justin as the guy. And if Russ is healthy enough to practice maybe like Wednesday through Saturday, then let's go. But if he's not, then Justin's going to be the guy.
Yeah, I just wonder if Russ gets one practice in, are they willing to start him over Fields? Just because you don't think the gap in production is that big between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. So Fields with a full week of practice versus Russ with just a couple hours might be very different.
It's a really good point, and I think there's two other behind-the-scenes things that come into play here. Apparently, I've heard this from many different people that know the Steelers well, the offensive coordinator does not like Russ. Mike Tomlin loves Russ. Who gets to say there? Because obviously Mike Tomlin isn't on the offensive side. He's more of a defensive head coach, but he still is the head coach.
Yeah, this is my team. Like, I don't care who you like or don't like. If I say we're playing Russell Wilson, we're starting Russell Wilson, like, end of story.
Okay, there we go. So then the second thing with this is all of last week, because from a Denver perspective, we were kind of following what was going on with Pittsburgh. And all of last week it was, Russ is still in the lead. He's still looking to go, but obviously it was up in the air all the way up until the inactives came out an hour and a half before game time. That's when Russ was ruled out. That's when it became official that Fields was the starter. There was a little gamesmanship there because people that are close to the Steelers, I heard, said, no, it was pretty obvious all of last week that it was going to be Justin that played. It was pretty obvious that Russ wasn't healthy enough to really practice fully like the Steelers want. Everyone in Pittsburgh knew it was going to be Justin, yet the Steelers tried to make this public perception. No. Russ still very well might play until they were forced to make Russ the backup right around game time. So I think that's happening again this week, of leaving it up in the air and having that gamesmanship be a part of this.
Are you saying they pulled a 49ers?
Not to the extent of lying
and knew the whole time
and breaking rules. Yeah, that's a tough situation.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And you can't blame the young guy. He doesn't know all the rules to be able to not say what needs to be not said. So
you blame PR, right? PR or the coaches? Because I agree. I don't think you blame him. He doesn't know.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
it
think
sucks.
back to like asking guys like, when'd you find out you're going to start, without even thinking like that they could be breaking a rule by telling me.
But
That's the one that I have to know now.
no, I don't think that. I personally don't think that's on you.
Well, it wouldn't be on
It's
me,
not
but
on
I don't
you
want
to
to set them up
protect.
for failure.
Yeah, but also I think that's a fair
I
question.
think it's
though.
a fair question.
Okay.
I think it's a fair question. But I think it's tough if you don't know that you're not supposed to say, hey, I knew since Monday of last week that,
But you know what? It's not really going to hurt the 49ers that much. They'll get a little slap on the wrist,
Yeah, they'll be
$100,000 fine. The billionaire owners will pay it, and they'll move on. Henry, that's like me fining you like 10 cents.
We've never done anything fine-worthy. I think I think
You were 10 minutes late today. That's fine worthy.
ask
Should
the
we fine
chat.
them a
Did they
dime?
see me?
Yeah.
Did they see
10
me? I was
cents.
right here. Just ask the chat. Yeah, I'm curious how this is going to go because I kind of wondered last week if the whole thing was gamesmanship. If they show up week one and say, we just want to run the ball, we can just throw Justin Fields in there and just kind of grind this first game out and see if we can surprise him with a win and then totally save Russ for week two and kind of debut him without any tape out there and kind of get two of those no tape games in the first 2 weeks. Now, the fact that this is kind of dragging on makes you think it was actually just an injury and not some conspiracy theory. But I'm really curious what's going to happen here, but it does seem like they obviously play their cards close to the vest, I think is the phrase. But when push comes to shove, if they decide Russ can go, I would imagine they still like hold him out for a snap every day in practice just to call him limited.
I am falling in line with what you're putting down, Henry, because I do think there's gamesmanship going on. And Mike Tomlin's a veteran head coach. He knows how to play these games. He knows the limits that he can push with these things, and he just did it last week. He did it 3 days ago in the first game of the season. So I think that's what's happening. So when you hear and you see we're preparing as Justin's going to play, I would just caution you to run with that because I think there's more to it, and I think we just heard it. So now let's dive into the game plan. When the Broncos defense faces the Steelers offense, what do they need to do? And I've got a nifty chart that says that Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are the exact same person. But I first have to give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays, where summer is still here. It's not going anywhere in Denver. I mean, I think it's like 90s today and full sun in the forecast. And if you need sunglasses, you need a pair of Shady Rays. Use the code DNVR to get 35% off all of their polarized sunglasses. And I mean, they have sunglasses for everything, whether it's sports look, whether it's the going out look, whether it's ski goggles for the ski season coming up. They've got it all over at Shady Rays. And one of the things that I love about Shady Rays is they're already very affordably priced sunglasses. And then they're giving you an additional 35% off by using the code DNVR over at ShadyRays.com. Over 300,000 people have given them 5-star reviews. So the people have given them their stamp of approval. We've given them our stamp of approval, and you need to give them your stamp of approval by using that code DNVR for 35% off over at ShadyRays.com.
And shout out to Toyota. You guys know we come live from the Toyota Lounge each and every day, and it's so comfortable, so luscious, and just like their vehicles, it can't be beat. Toyota has over 17 models available with all-wheel or four-wheel drive. And Zach, tell us again, what is the difference between all-wheel and four-wheel drive?
Well, all-wheel and four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive, you can turn off and turn to two-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is just always all the wheels going.
So if you're out there looking for an epic vehicle, now you know the difference and now you know what to look for. They have the 4Runner, they have the Tacoma, they have the Tundra. They have so many great vehicles for you to choose from. So go visit your Front Range Toyota stores today and check out a location near you. Their locations are the Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, the Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Is that what it's like to get called out in a meeting?
What do you mean?
Put on the spot right away?
You better know your stuff.
Man, I did my homework, knowing the difference between those. And shout out to our friends over at Bet365, who are the presenting sponsor of our show. Todd, pretty much week in and week out last year, you would give us the inside scoop, breaking down the Broncos game with Russell Wilson. And I feel like every single week you are breaking down how he doesn't throw to the middle of the field. Is that right?
Yeah, I feel like, there's a void there. Definitely.
Justin Fields and Russ are the same person when they're trying to throw the ball from in the pocket. Look at this chart, the passing chart from Justin Fields in the game last week. You see that big red box? That's where Justin Fields did not throw the ball a single time. And if you're listening on the podcast side, Justin Fields did not throw the ball in the middle of the field once. From the line of scrimmage to all the way to the next to the end zone. He didn't throw the ball. How big is that? Is that 30 yards or something? With leaving like 10 yards on the outsides of that's all he threw.
Yeah, that's a pretty good big gap in there. Yeah, I mean, they have some similar problems in their game. I think that, being shorter and more athletic, those outside the number throws can be easier because you can see the receivers a little bit better. It's not so many D linemen and O linemen in your way. Not so much, traffic. So I understand why they don't throw in the middle of the field, but if either one of them are going to be successful, anymore, they got to figure out that big old hole in that chart.
I also think it's good coaching because maybe they were telling him repeatedly throw the ball over the middle, but I would imagine they were kind of rolling him out of the pocket and just saying throw the ball to the boundary because that's what you're good at. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Russ is the better thrower. I think specifically on the deep ball, that's where he separates himself. But it is true that they attack the same areas of the field, and it's not like you're super scared of either of them.
I was going to say that makes it so limiting. It makes their offense so limited because if they're throwing, they're throwing outside. So that's a lot easier to defend. And unfortunately, maybe bad news for Alex Singleton. He's not going to get a pick this week because they're just not going to throw in the middle of the field.
Never say never. Tip balls, tips and overthrows.
Maybe Alex is just playing the boundaries a lot this week. So to answer the question, do you want Russ from a non-storyline purpose? Because obviously, if it's about storylines, we want Russ, right? But if it's not about the storyline, if you're the Broncos defense, if you're Vance Joseph, do you want Russ or Justin Fields this week?
Honestly, I feel like I would want Russ. And I say I want Russ because when you look at the two players and how they scramble, Justin Fields is getting out of the pocket, still throwing towards the sideline, or he's tucking and running. And I feel like as a defender, it's tiring. You know what I'm saying? Always chasing after guys. I don't think Russell Wilson is trying to rush for many yards anymore at this point in his career. But the good thing about when Russ scrambles is that he takes shots down the field. And as a defender, we saw many times last year, he was giving them chances. Yes, Cortland came down with some balls, but if you're a good defensive player like a Pat Surtain or a PJ Locke, and you can ball hawk, 20 yards deep, you have a lot of opportunities. So in my opinion, it'd be better to play a guy like that who may give you a pick or two just because he's taking a chance.
Yeah, I lean the other way. I think I lean toward wanting to play Fields just because Russ in those 2-minute drills, he got it done so many times last year, and I think this game's going to be close, and it just feels like if that comes up, he's going to beat you. But I also think that, the one time Justin Fields played the Broncos, he had the best game of his career. I mean, the only 300-yard game of his career. He threw for 335. He also had the best pass rating of his career, most touchdowns of his career, most completions of his career. Like, you can just go through all the numbers. He's played, 4 years now? 3 years now? 3 years now. And there is no game that even comes close to that, which makes me think maybe you do just want to play Russ. Even if in a vacuum, I think he's the better quarterback. I just can't say I want to play Justin Fields after what he did to the Broncos last year.
So you're going Russ.
You want to play Russ.
And you want to play Russ.
Yeah.
I disagree. I want to play Justin Fields. And the reason for that is Justin Fields scored 0 touchdowns, led the Steelers to 0 touchdowns last week. Now, it was 6 field goals, which is, a lot of times to get your team in scoring range, but not finishing the job off. If you were to give me the Steelers score 18 points this week, I would take that right now in a heartbeat and run with it. And Atlanta's defense has some players, but it's not like they're a top 5 defense in the NFL, I don't believe. And I think the Broncos defense can be just as good as Atlanta's defense. So I want Justin Fields. Henry, you kind of pointed it out. Justin Fields' game that he had against the Broncos last week was the outlier for his 3-year career. That's not who Justin Fields is going to be. And what just scares me is I think Russell Wilson is a good fit for the Steelers because Mike Tomlin's not going to ask him to do much. He's just going to ask him to run the ball, not turn the ball over, keep it a game until there's 1:30 left, and he has the ball down 5 or 6, and then that's when Russell Wilson's good. And that's what Pete Carroll was so good at with Russell Wilson, was really containing him. And that's what pissed Russell Wilson off. He said, no, I'm a future Hall of Famer. I don't want to be contained. I want to get out of here to someone who's going to let me do my thing from the first quarter till the fourth quarter. And clearly Pete Carroll was right about how to handle Russell Wilson, and I think that's what Mike Tomlin's going to do. So I think that Mike Tomlin's going to get more out of Russ than the Broncos were able to. I don't think he's going to be great, but I do think when he starts, he's going to hold on to the starting job, barring an injury. So I want the guy that's kicking field goals, not the guy that scares the hell out of me with 1:30 left. And so that's why I'm saying give me Justin Fields this week and just force him to throw to the outside. And then with the rest of the offense, it probably doesn't matter which quarterback is in there. You have to stop the run because that's what the Steelers are going to try to do. Now, they're not great at it, but they're going to give the ball to Najee Harris a ton of times, just like they did last week. Najee racked up 70 rushing yards in the game. Not great, but they stuck with the run. He didn't average, 7 yards per carry, and they only ran it 10 times. No, they ran the ball a lot. How was the Broncos' passing offense last week, would you say?
Bad.
That's pretty good.
Broncos?
The Broncos?
Yeah, the Broncos.
Defense, passing defense.
No, passing offense. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Probably
too
not
good.
very. It looked like a
Yeah.
rookie.
Yeah.
The Steelers with Fields had one more net passing yard than the Broncos last week. Just shows you how ineffective it was with Justin Fields and why they're going to rely on the ground game so much.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, when you talk about Justin Fields, getting down to the red zone, not being able to score, who does that remind you of?
Yeah.
Was that not Russell Wilson all last year and Sean Payton
Yeah.
screaming his head off because
Very
he
much
couldn't get
so.
it in the red
Yeah.
zone? I think they're just two similar players. I
Yeah.
think we can flip a coin and kind of say whoever
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin picks, the Broncos should win this game either way. And, I think the tough thing for the Broncos is now you got to shore up your run game. Like you showed some things on film last week that you didn't like. It's a copycat league. They're going to run those exact same plays and see if you figured it out, from last Sunday to this Sunday. Najee Harris is a good back. I think it's gonna be a heavy majority of run game, like you're saying. So it's all in the Broncos front seven to find a way to get it done.
Yeah, it's all just about physicality. Like this is just, it's going to be close to just an actual brawl. They had that Zach Frazier, who I didn't remember from the draft, but he's the rookie center who's just incredible last week. Like all the advanced stats say he's like the best center in the NFL last week. They're fired up, and that's just the kind of thing that, they're the Steelers. Like Mike Tomlin talks the way he talks, like because he's a Steeler. They don't need to pass the ball. They just want to run the ball. They don't need 5 yards per carry. Again, like it's not great efficiency. Najee had like 3.5 yards per carry. They only had three and outs though. Like they found ways to just keep the ball going and going and going. And eventually you just need to be more physical than they are. And that's true on this side of the ball, but I think maybe even more so when it comes to the Broncos on offense.
And I think it really plays in what you're saying, Henry, to what really hurt the Broncos defense last week. The Steelers had the fourth most time of possession last week.
Yep.
They had the ball for 35 minutes. And what the argument that you guys made was Broncos defense kind of got tired down last week from so many 3-and-outs from the Broncos offense and then kind of longer drives from the Seahawks in the third quarter. If that happens again, the defense is probably gonna get tired if they're on the field for 20 or 35, 36 minutes in a game, just like the Atlanta Falcons defense was last week. So that's why stopping the run is so important, because then you put the ball in the hands of either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. You're forcing them to throw the ball. Maybe they have to throw the ball in the middle of the field, which is an area that both of them are very uncomfortable with. But then also it gets the defense off the field so that they don't get tired, specifically just early in the game too.
Yeah, I think this is a game just to go man, load the box, stick
Yep.
pat on Pickens.
Yep.
And if fire move beat you, then it is what it is. But I don't think that they have the talent to beat you throwing the ball. So run the ball as many times as you want. You can play with no deep safety, 0 pressures all game, and just make them beat you on the outside. I don't think they're going to be able to beat Pat. And I think Riley Moss can match up with their number 2. I think it should be a good game. It'd be a hard-nosed game. You know what I'm saying? You got to bring it's like a lunch pail, type day, hard hat type day. But I love these type of games. I think this was like right up my alley. So it should be a good day for the Broncos if they come ready to play, like from the start of the game.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they average like 3 yards a pop, which is not crazy, but it takes 2 runs for them to have 120 yards, and now they had a great day. Like I think that's what they're banking on, is just continuing to pound the ball until you mess up two times or miss 2 tackles, and all of a sudden the game's out of grasp for you.
Yep, and I like that you brought up Riley Moss too, because last week he had a tough assignment with Tyler Lockett, and I've seen a lot of people debating, like some people say he was awful, some people say that he looked awesome, and the results were obviously bad. Tyler Lockett beat him, but he was so close so many times.
Yep.
And the guy that he's going to be covering for the Steelers is not as good as Tyler Lockett. So I agree. I think you trust him. And the one thing that really scares me is the fact that the Broncos tried so hard to get their second linebacker off the field last week. They kept shifting into bigger fronts or finding different ways to only have Alex out there and not have Christian Welch, not have Cody Barton. And this week, there's no way around it. Like, you need one of those guys on the field, and they need to play well.
100%, absolutely. And if George Pickens beats Pat Surtain via either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, I guess you just tip your cap to them because I totally agree. You put Pat one-on-one with him, and I feel comfortable about Riley Moss one-on-one. Maybe you put one safety back there. Everyone else in the box. Stop Najee Harris. Don't let Justin Fields scramble out for a 35-yard run. And Todd, you pointed to it. All it takes is 2 big runs from the Steelers for then their 3.5 yards per carry on every other run to be a wild success and blow the game open. And that happened with the Broncos last week. In the first half, the Broncos were outstanding against the run. Kenneth Walker looked like a bad run. Like, he did not look like a special running back. But then you let Geno Smith get out for a 30-yard touchdown. You can't let that happen with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields this week. And then we saw Kenneth Walker escape on a couple of runs last week as well. Can't let that happen. And that's why I think this game plan is very simple and such a good game for anyone that likes to be a run defender or an inside linebacker or a big boy up front. This is a game for them, and it's going to be a messy game. Have you guys seen the over-under?
Well, points for the entire game?
Yeah.
It's probably like over under 32 points.
37, which is the lowest
Low.
in the NFL by far.
And
So
I'd take the under.
I would take the under as
20
well.
to 17 feels a little too high for this one.
I totally agree. Okay, let's hop over to the other side of the ball and talk about the Broncos offense going up against the Steelers defense, or should I just say going up against TJ Watt. But first, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Westera Credit Union, where they were founded in 1934 right here in Colorado. And now they have 9 locations in the Denver metro area. They're all about helping members financially prosper, and education is their thing. They were started by a group of 8 school teachers, so helping others is in their DNA. And as a member, you come to see that in every interaction. It's all about the local community with these guys. They just launched the 90th anniversary CD that offers 9% annual percentage yield. That's 9%, which is unheard of on a 5-month certificate of deposit. You can start earning interest high on balances as low as $500 and a max of $3,000. And of course, it's insured by the NCUA. This offer is only available for a limited time, so head to WesteraCU.com. That's WESTERRACU.com to learn more. Early withdrawal penalties apply. Fees could reduce earnings. Rates are accurate as of September 1st, 2024. New money and in-branch offer only. Limited time offer subject to change without notice. Review membership account agreement, disclosures and information guide for additional details. Membership eligibility required, insured by NCUA.
Do you know who said it's all about balance in the belly?
I do know.
Do you know, Todd?
Absolutely not.
Coach Prime.
No, Nutrition Prime, actually.
Nutrition Prime.
Yeah, he
you're
teamed
right.
up with UC Health to join the Ready, Set, Co Challenge and try to help Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state in the United States of America. Part of the challenge is nutrition, and that's why they brought in Nutrition Prime to give us some helpful lessons, like that it's all about balance in the belly. It's not always about the big decisions you make, but sometimes it's about the little choices, like replacing some French fries with vegetables.
Have you taken that advice?
Oh, all the time.
McDonald's, you get the apple slices instead of the French fries?
I haven't had McDonald's in a long time,
Wow.
which is a good thing.
You've been listening to Nutrition Prime.
Absolutely. It's a good thing that I have not. If you, instead of having like a pizza, you could have a salad, because pizza places have those too.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things. That would actually be a big change. I'll call that one a big change, not a little choice. But you don't have to go on some crazy strict diet. Just make little choices. They'll help you be healthier. And again, that's, if you want, you can join the Ready, Set, Co Challenge. It's a statewide challenge that helps Coloradans be their healthiest selves, centered around getting Colorado back to its rightful place, the healthiest state. You are what you eat, which is actually literally true. It's a thing that people say when you're, but actually, like, all these little skin cells or finger cells or whatever, they come from whatever you eat. So just remember that.
Yeah. Remember that.
Yeah.
And remember to use the code DNVR365 over at Bet365.
Oh, is that what I was supposed to be?
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you were good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Good.
'cause
Okay. Good.
Bet365 is our presenting sponsor.
Okay.
So just shout out
I
to
thought
them.
I read the wrong thing.
No, you were good.
But also go to uchealth.org/readysetco.
Boom.
Sign up.
There we go. All right. Todd, what is the key for the Broncos offense going up against Pittsburgh's defense?
I don't know. No, honestly, I think the RPO game is going to be big for them this week. I think going back and watching the film against the Seahawks, you don't mind one-on-one matchups as long as you have, somebody that can make one guy miss. Like the first guy can't tackle you. So if there's more opportunity, I think Jalil slipped on a few, Javonte slipped on a few.
Yeah.
I think there's more opportunity to get those guys in RPO schemes. That way, J.J. Watt can't affect the quarterback as much. And if we make him the guy that we're reading, he has to slow his feet. He has to think about, where he needs to go, whether he's in the run game or he needs to drop and pass. I think that's how you really affect the Steelers' defense is you take J.J. Watt out the game by making him have to think the entire game.
So you're running those RPOs at him?
Opposite him. So the run's going opposite, so he's watching him. So
right.
if TJ Watt is rushing, then he has to pull it and throw. If he's dropping, then he gives it.
Which
You know
slows
what I'm
him
saying?
down just
Which
a little bit.
slows him down just a little bit so that if he is, he's not chasing everything back down from the backside because of how fast he is.
I like that.
No, I think that's a big piece of it. I think we saw some RPOs last week. I think we need to see more. I want to see more just like the straight read options too. Like you just have to let Bo run because just with all the little hitches in the offense, and a lot of them can be cleaned up. Like some of it is just running backs keep their feet. Some of it's receivers catch the ball when it hits their hands. But there's so many of those little things that I think you just need to add the threat of Bo running to kind of cover up a couple of those because they're not all going to be cleaned up this week. And big picture, I mean, this might be the best defense in the NFL. Like you watch what they did last week and it was insane. The stats aren't crazy, but TJ Watt had 2 strip sacks called back. Yeah. And one of them, they called like the offsides on him. You'll remember like when the Broncos had good pass rushers, this was a thing that would drive people crazy because like Vaughn would get off the line so fast and be like, he's offsides. And it's like, no, he's not offsides. He's already moving, but he didn't cross the line. And the Steelers had a strip sack from TJ taken away on one of those, which is just brutal for them.
And he still had a sack. He still had 3 quarterback hits. He still had 2 tackles for a loss.
He's
he
everywhere.
recovered a fumble.
He's everywhere. But you've got him. You've got Cam Hayward. The linebackers look good. And then all those DBs. Like they've run that same zone blitz defense for like 40 years now. And you throw like Minka's back there or like Casey's back there or Joey Porter Jr. now. They brought in the other guy from the Dolphins who is starting in front of Brandon Jones, whose name I'm forgetting. But you just got so many of these like hybrid, versatile guys who can do so many different things. Like it's just so well built and they play so hard. To me, it's you take your punches and understand that this isn't going to be pretty. Run a bunch and hope you break a couple plays at some point.
Run a bunch. Run a bunch. Run a bunch. Run a bunch. And don't stop. And look, the Broncos did stop running the ball last week. Now, it became ineffective. And Sean just, I guess, must have felt like, man, I have no other choice. But to just say, like, well, they got behind, so they had to just abandon the run. Not true. They were up 13-9 at halftime, and they ran the ball 9 times in the second half. That's including runs with Bo Nix. They ran the ball the running backs ran the ball for 12 yards in the second half. If that happens again this week, either from just ineffectiveness when running or just lack of running the ball, the Broncos will lose this game. Because especially in the second half, if you let TJ Watt just focus on rushing the quarterback, I mean, it's already scary enough when he's not focused on rushing the quarterback, what he can still do rushing the quarterback. But if he's just pinning his ears back, I'm sorry, Garrett Bowles. I'm sorry, Mike McGlinchey. He's the best defensive player in the NFL right now. I don't care how good your tackles are. Unless you have Trent Williams, I'm really, really, really nervous about that matchup there. And especially if it's obvious pass situations. And so even if you run the ball on first down at any point in the game and it gets 1 yard, don't be afraid to run the ball again. Now, it's really going to stink if you only get 1 yard that second time and then it's 3rd and 8, then it's really obvious pass situation. But I'd rather have that than Bo dropping back to pass in obvious pass situations 2 times in a row. So it is all about sticking with the run. Even if you're averaging 2.5 yards at halftime, I think you still have to stick with it, especially in this game.
Yeah, you have to do it just because you have to stay balanced, but it's different playing those teams in the AFC North, man. I think the league is still divided by your division. Like, the AFC West is still a gunslinger division. It has never changed since Payton played. Phillip Rivers, like,
no way.
Elway, we
Yep.
spread you out, and we
Yep.
throw the ball, and we run sometimes. Like, and the AFC North with the Steelers and the Ravens and the Browns, it has always been a run-first division, and it still is to this
Yeah.
day. So, in all actuality, I think the Steelers are built to stop the run. They just have an ace in up their sleeve in
Yep.
TJ Watt, who's great at getting after the quarterback. So, like you said, I think the run pass options are going to be best for the Broncos, and I think you add in some zone read RPO, so he can give it, he can run it, and he can throw it on the back end. I think that's how you have to try and manipulate this defense because, yeah, we can try and run it, but they're built for the run. I think
Totally.
it's best to pass against them. You just have to find two bodies to block TJ Watt.
No,
It's tough.
Todd,
Well-
Todd, you can't drop back 40 times. You can't drop
You-
back
well,
30 times.
You can't.
I
You
mean,
can't.
sometimes it's a chicken or egg thing though. Or it's like, again, they didn't want to drop back 42 times, but you get to the end of the game. Or like, so for example, they were
No, but Henry, last week they were
were
up 13-9 at halftime.
But
they didn't have to continue to drop back all the time.
Or you just send a message to start the game. You just send somebody out there to go take out TJ Watt's legs and slow him down. No, just send a message like, don't rush this game. Slow down.
2012 Sean Payton. Right there.
I don't think Sean was involved. He just
Sean
negligence.
doesn't think he was
Some
involved.
No, not breaking any bones.
Yeah,
Just slow him down. You know what I'm
Head
saying?
coach would never hear of
Don't
that.
hurt him.
But I mean, the Broncos were 9th in the NFL in first down run percentage in week 1. Like, so they were trying to run. Again, it's a tough call when you get into it. The thing is, it wasn't always just like 2nd and 9. A lot of time it was like 2nd and 13 somehow. And then, you go back 8 years ago, 5 years ago, and all Broncos fans are complaining about the run, pass offense. It's like run first down, run second down, and it's like, 3rd and 6, better throw the ball. And so you don't like that. But you also don't really like when you're throwing the ball a bunch when you have a rookie quarterback. The thing is, it's just never going to be good unless you're getting first downs. Like, there's a lot of ways to be bad, and I'm not sure how exactly to avoid them. But yeah, I think RPOs are big. I think you run Bo. I think you got to take some deep shots too and just kind of hope that Court makes a couple plays. Because like you said, if they give up 18 points to the Steelers, you like the Broncos' chances, or you take that right now. I kind of agree. Like 18 is kind of the range where you should be able to keep them. It's going to be a struggle to get to 13, 14, 17 points offensively. And so it's to me, you almost just gamble on the deep balls and hope Court gets you into field goal range.
What was the stat you kept pointing on with deep balls with Bo, though?
They were not great.
They were not great. And how good were Bo's deep passes in training camp?
Not good.
Non-existent. He
Yep.
did not throw deep
Nope.
in training camp. It was pretty much Zach Wilson throwing deep, and that was it. What about Bo's deep balls in the preseason?
I can't think of one off the top. Oh, there was the one to Josh Reynolds that he dropped.
Yeah, so pretty much non-existent, though.
Yep.
Like one pass in 2 games that he played. That would be crazy to kind of come out and do something that Bo hasn't done and just rely on that. And Todd, you mentioned how the AFC North is built for stopping the run. And you're 100% right on that. It's in their DNA, and it's also just literally in the Steelers' DNA. Bijan Robinson for the Falcons last week, maybe the best running back in the NFL, one of the best running backs in the NFL. They ran the ball, I think, 88 yards. That's not what they wanted to do, I'm sure, the Falcons. So the Steelers came away winning that battle. But on the Broncos side, their offense is built more to run the ball than it is to pass, at least right now. Obviously, we hope that changes and Bo can become a gunslinger and become where you're throwing the ball 4,500 yards. But right now, I just look at the big boys up front. They are way more well-equipped to run the ball than they are to pass block. And then I look at the Broncos' weapons. I think the combination of Javonte, Jaleel, and Estime is better than their receiving weapons right now. So I just think this team is so much more ready to run the ball, and I just think it also protects Bo. But when they do pass the ball, what I want to see them do is put Bo on the move. Intentionally, just have him doing boots, just intentionally running to the right, running away from TJ Watt, because I just think that that's where he's more comfortable right now. Especially in the NFL, which is the speed. I think when he's on the move, we see him kind of put himself on the move, even when he doesn't need to be right now. I just think he's more comfortable. So play into that strength right now.
Yeah, I agree. First and foremost, I want to, clarify. I'm not saying anybody do anything illegal or take a shot at TJ Watt. Cuts or chop blocks in the NFL are completely legal once you're inside the block. I'm talking about a legal block just to slow him down. Don't paint this bad picture of me.
Send messages that are legal.
Yeah, it's a legal message. You know what I'm saying? I think they should keep, Bo on the move. He can't be sitting in the pocket. He can't be a sitting duck or just a target for TJ to get after. It's an interesting game, man. Like you talk about, I think we're built to run, but it's a pretty good front. I mean, do you want to run the TJ Watt side or Hayward side, or you want him to run up the middle to Patrick Queen? Where do you want him to run the ball?
I don't want Bo to be throwing the ball 40 times. That's my answer.
It's going to be tricky. I know Sean will put together a good game plan, but, it's not a walk in the park game.
No.
I think it's a winnable game, but, we live and die by our offense. Our defense can be good, but we got to put points on the board. And I think our defense does a lot to help the offense put points on the board.
Absolutely.
But they're not a top defense to where they're getting a lot of pick sixes and fumble sixes. They're putting the offense in position to score, and we need the offense to score.
Yep.
And so that's why we have to have a formidable offense to some degree. So I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, and the Steelers, they won that game because they were better on third downs. They won the turnover battle 3-0. And what's the other? There's
They
one
had
more
the ball
classic
for 35
one. Oh,
minutes?
yeah. There we go. The time of possession, 35-25. Like, it's all just the simple stuff. And you look at it, the Steelers were fifth in the NFL in average starting field position because the defense was just putting their offense in such good situations that they only need to pick up 15 yards to go get a field goal. Like, it's not like this was going to be who makes fewer mistakes, who doesn't blow the opportunities they're given. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams wins like 9-6 or something like that.
I mean, we're going back to 1960s football.
It's what the Steelers want to do.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And we're going to have our guy, Brian Baldinger, join us to break down this game and talk about what the Broncos should do against the Steelers. But first, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Coors Light. After all this TJ Watt talk, I need to just chill with the Coors Light. And Coors Light is the beer we reach for over at DNVR when we need to chill. Because Coors Light's all about chilling. It is brewed chilled. It is bottled chilled. It is served chilled to the extent where they made their cans and bottles turn blue as cold as the Rockies when their beer is cold. And if you want to chill outside after a hump day or this weekend watching the Rocky Mountain Showdown, watching the Broncos and Steelers go head-to-head, Coors Light is the beer that you should turn to. And if you want it delivered straight to your door via Instacart, they paired up with Coors Light. If you go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR, that'll get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. So make sure to go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. And, of course, celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
So my my apartment building is putting in new carpet in the hallways. So I got to the top of the elevator, middle of the elevator. I'm not like on the top floor or anything, and got off. And there was a whole bunch of people pulling up the carpet, and it was blocked off. And I was like, well, I can't get to my home. And so I just had to walk through all this like stickiness all the way there. And I saw their work today, and I love where I live. Not the best carpet. Not the best carpet.
You didn't hear the jingle.
Nope, they did not go to Empire today. We're just so spoiled here with our floors. It makes me wish I could spend more time on floors that are like these.
Yeah, I wish you'd look at me like the way you look at these floors, Henry.
Yeah, maybe someday. Yeah, these aren't real wood, but they like look like it, and they also really don't scratch all that much, which surprises me because we don't treat them all that well.
Yeah,
if I'm
we
being
destroyed
honest.
the last floors.
Definitely. Empire's awesome though. If you're looking for floors, that's the place to go. You can go to empiretoday.com/DNVR. There's a whole bunch of perks to choosing them. They have a virtual floor designer, so you can see how the new floors will look in your space. You just take a picture, see instantly what those new floors would look like. You get to talk to somebody who spends all day living and breathing flooring. It's not like going to the stores where it's like, this guy sells floors, he sells paint, he sells hammers. They only sell floors. We love them. And if you schedule a free in-home estimate, you can actually get $350 off if you use the code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
And shout out to our friends over at Bet365, the presenting sponsor of this show. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. Tiff, do we have Baldy? Oh,
wow.
Perfect timing. Just heard the call. We've got our guy, Brian Baldinger, rolling with us. Maybe in just a second, Tiff? Oh, there we go. Baldy, what's going on?
Zach, how are you guys, man? I'm doing good. Good to be with you.
Man, we are so pumped that football is back. Not as pumped with the way things shook out in week 1 in Seattle. And I want to start with Bo Nix, Baldy, because right after the game and then the next day when we talked to Sean Payton, he really deflected blame away from Bo Nix and pretty much put it on everyone else on the offensive side. Is that him protecting his rookie quarterback from just a mental side, or is there a lot of truth in that everyone else dropped the ball?
Well, I would say that Bo Nix, I mean, look, he tried to protect him all game long. I mean, almost every pass was under 5 yards. The deep shots he took to Cortland Sutton, outside of the one shot to Josh Reynolds right before the half that led to a field goal, I mean, he wasn't very good down the field. But look, it's a rookie, so he should do exactly what he did. He should deflect the criticism. You should put it on the offensive line. They didn't run the ball well. I thought the defensive line of Seattle outplayed the offensive line of Denver all game long, throughout much of the game anyways. And so I would deflect all the criticism too. The game plan was try to get as many completions as you can. Who had Devon leading this team with 8 catches? Nobody did. But you know, that's what was there. That's what they did. And so they were in the game for much of it. You know, until the interceptions really took over. And those are tough throws. Julian Love and Tariq, Woolen. I mean, Woolen he's never thrown a dart across the middle of the field to a guy that is as fast as Tariq Woolen. And, you know, when the throw wasn't terrible, Woolen runs a 4.2, and he showed it. And so other guys in this league have made that mistake. But I would say that what you're asking and what Sean said is what he should say. And you should defend your rookie quarterback.
When you look at how Bo played, you've obviously watched a lot more football than I have. Do those look like just standard rookie mistakes that can be cleaned up, or were there deeper issues there that you saw?
Well, I mean, he wasn't as accurate as we saw him in the preseason by far. Seattle, it's a new defense. There's nothing on the tape. You can go back and watch Baltimore if you want to try and see what they were going to do. They play these matchup zones. They don't really reveal what they're doing to the snap. I mean, it's nothing like he's really seen before. So it's tough. So he wasn't accurate. I mean, every throw to Cortland Sutton was either sailed over his head or was behind him, or it was late. And so, you know, it was just, you know, down the field, he struggled. But I think that those are things that I think are mechanics. I think those are things that you work on. I don't think that's going to be a persistent problem going forward.
You know, Baldy, you talked about that Seahawks defensive line, and I think they played phenomenal. And once again this week, the Broncos are going up against a very good D-line, outside linebackers, and inside linebackers. How do the Broncos kind of shore up this run game to be much better than they were last week?
I mean, it's really as a group, they got to play better as a group. The running game always you can scheme all the runs you want. And you can do that, but ultimately you have to move the line of scrimmage. You got to get push at the point of attack. And I don't care if it's Javonte or Jaleel, doesn't matter. It starts with getting movement. And so that's what I would concentrate on. I would go back, 9-on-7 drills, inside drills during the week, put the pads on. Like, you've got to get movement, and that's where it starts. And that's on, you know, Quinn didn't play great, but nobody did. I mean, I think up front, that's where it's got to start. It's got to start with just the basic fundamentals, combo blocks, walking guys off the line of scrimmage, playing with a good pad level. I think everybody benefits like that.
Speaking of starting, Baldy, if you're Vance Joseph, who do you want to face this week? Do you want to face Russell Wilson, or do you want to face Justin Fields if you got to choose?
I would say Russell. I mean, he's played very little football. We don't know how healthy he is. I think you're going to see Justin. I mean, I think it's just subterfuge at this point with what Mike Tomlin is saying. But, you know, you're going to see Justin Fields. And so, but if you're asking me who I would want to face, it'd be Russell. He hasn't played well in the preseason. He's missed a lot of camp. That was a late scratch the other day. I think they kind of knew it might happen. And we don't know how healthy he is. So you want to see how healthy he is. The best part of their whole offense, honestly, was their center. Zach Frazier to me, was the only watchable part. One catch, on the outside, by Pickens. But other than that, like the center was the best part of their whole offense. So I would think that you want to face Russell right now.
When we were talking about it, we basically just decided you want to man up on the receivers, you just put Pat on Pickens, and then load the box. Like, it feels like this week it should be a pretty simple game plan going up a Steelers team that really doesn't feel like it's much of a threat in the passing game.
They're not a threat. They're not a threat right now. I mean, they had a deal done. If you listened to Jay Glazer last Sunday, I'm sure you did. I mean, they had the deal done, Brandon Ayuk to Pittsburgh. They need him in the worst way. Van Jefferson is their second receiver. I don't know. I mean, Freiermuth's their tight end. Not really thrown to those guys. Maybe Jaylen Warren will be healthier and have a bigger role. Maybe Cordero Patterson will have a bigger role. But, the balls down the field are going to Pickens. And so I would do exactly what Denver did this weekend. I would put Surtain on Pickens. And, I would live with that matchup. I mean, DK caught a couple passes against him. Couldn't get the 2-point conversion against him. I'd put Surtain on him, and I would just, load up the box. That's how I would play it, just the way you described.
Baldy, we got to talk about that great outside linebacker the Steelers have, TJ Watt. How do the Broncos kind of limit him? I remember playing like Travis Kelce back in the days. Like, you can't stop him. He's going to get his catches, but if you just tackle the catch and you hold him and try to not let him get yak yards, you kind of like minimize what he can do. How do the Broncos just minimize TJ Watt?
Well, I mean, Raheem Morris came out and said, we have to take him out. We have to have a game plan to take him out. Well, they tried. It was ridiculous what they did. I mean, they tried to chip. The TJ is going to get his. Like, he's just that good. And so you have to, if you look at, for example, if you look at the Cowboys last week, they got a rookie tackle against Myles Garrett. Like, that was a great game plan. Myles Garrett got one sack and a forced fumble. But other than that, he didn't really affect the game that much because of the game plan. They bootlegged away from him. They chipped him. They had short passing game. Like, you've got to build your game plan around what TJ can do. Now, as much as TJ can wreck it, Alex Highsmith is a hell of a player on the other side. And this second-year player, Nick Herbig, like, he's going to rotate in there. Like, all these kids from Wisconsin, like, they all can play. And so, and that's where Herbig's from. So, and he's attached himself to TJ. So he's learned a lot of things from him. It's a talented group, but you cannot, you have to literally game plan play to play against TJ, because on any given play, it can change the game.
Baldy's breakdowns, you were blown away by how good the Broncos defense played in the first half, but then they gave up 150 yards in the third quarter. What changed from the first half to the second half with the defense, and how do they prevent that in the coming weeks?
I got my chart from the breakdown right here. I mean, Kenneth Walker had 7 carries for 19 yards in the first half. They abused the right tackle, whether it was Forsythe, who came in for the starter. They abused the right tackle, Cooper, like they just ran right over him. Seattle blocked much better in the second half. I mean, I'm sure that was the speech at halftime from the new offense coordinator, new offensive line coach. Like, it's up to us. And they did. And Kenneth Walker, not that much different than some great backs in this league. He's got great balance, and he's got great contact balance and vision. They blocked him up just a lot better in the second half. And so I think that was the difference. He ran 12 carries for 84 yards in the second half, including the touchdown. He had a second touchdown that got called back because of a hold. They got to get off blocks better than they did in that second half.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm curious what you thought of the Broncos offensive line, though, because I think when you look at ESPN's numbers, for example, they have the run block win rate as the 6th best in the NFL, but you don't really see the production there. They have the pass block win rate as 20th, a little below average, but Bo Nix was constantly under duress. Is this something that can come around quickly? Like, can they actually find a way to open up lanes against the Steelers front, or do you kind of just have to accept that they kind of are what they are?
Well, I wouldn't back down from the challenge. Cam Hayward is one hell of a player. Larry Ogunjobi, they're good across the board. And they've got a rookie linebacker in Payton Wilson that can run like the wind. And he rotates in there with some other guys. But this is a very stout defense. But what you have to do is, for example, when I played with the Cowboys, we'd go up against the 85 Bears defense. We knew we'd have a lot of runs that went for 0 and 1 and -2. We knew that. But what you wanted was to stay with it, because you're going to hit one. You're going to split one. You got to stay with it. You can't back down from it. And you can't just go to what they did the other day and just a short passing game, because you're going to sit on that stuff too, especially if you don't challenge them deep. So you can't back down. TJ wants to ruin the game, get to the quarterback, make him play the run, find runs that work. There's always one or two that you can pop, and you got to stay with it. You cannot just go there and go. You can't put it in Bo Nix's hands and go win a game against this defense. Like Atlanta couldn't do that. Kirk Cousins couldn't do that. And Kirk Cousins has been around for a dozen years. He couldn't do it on Sunday. So you've got to put it on the offensive line, and you got to find Javonte and Jaleel and the rookie. The best one they had all day was the rookie, and then he fumbled. Julian Love knocked it out of his hands, but they got to split there. They got to split inside. They opened it. They hit it. He hit it just right. You just don't try to jump over the free safety, because that's what's going to happen to you.
Baldy, saying along the exact same lines that you were talking about right before you joined us, we pretty much said this is going to be like a 1960s slugfest here. Is it kind of the first one to 15 wins?
Yeah, I think so. I think it might be just that. Because I think, I thought Denver had their third safety in that first half. I don't know how they get, I don't understand the ruling on it, but I thought they had three. Look, field position is a lot of things. It helped the Broncos all day long. You could play the same type of game. If you look at Harbaugh and the Chargers, that formula of playing great defense, punting, field goals, don't turn the ball over, that can win you football games. And what you're describing here, Zach, is, it might be 15-13. It might be 13-12. Be willing to play that game. You got a rookie quarterback. You don't want him to throw 2 interceptions. Keep building a game plan to build his confidence, to get completions, to try and convert third downs to stay on the field. It's going to be tight. I don't believe this Pittsburgh offense is not good. And Justin Fields can make splash plays because he's a great runner. He's a great athlete. You can't take your eyes off him. But they weren't very good around him on Sunday. And I don't expect that to change much because I think Denver's defense is solid. So I think right now, be willing to play that type of game.
You're the opposite of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. You're the best. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, man. Good luck with Sunday.
Looking forward to seeing you next week to hopefully break down a Broncos win that we're talking about. Thanks, Baldy.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was quite a show. We got tons of information, broke down everything you need to know about this game, and we're going to be dishing out our predictions tomorrow. Is it a 1st to 20 race? Is it a 1st to 15? Is it a 1st to 10?
Does anybody score?
3-0? Yeah. We'll be breaking it down tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune back in with us tomorrow at 3 or at 10 a.m. And as Todd said, I hope you're humping it today. Happy hump day. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.